Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. We are back again with another PWCC/Fanatics weekly review where I go through the top 100 soccer items auctioned off this week. As always, if you enjoy these videos, do make sure to leave a like. I'd appreciate it greatly. But with that said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Alrighty, let us begin this week starting at about $100. Yet again, we start with the Franz Beckenbauer Calciatore second year PSA 6 that goes for $106. We then have on the left hand side a Billy Wright 1947 famous footballers and a 2 that went for $110. Some more team in action shots going on up there with this 1933 that goes for $112. Youngman Son sticker here goes for $112 as well. We have a 2009 Panini Extra Classic Robert Lewandowski. This says rookie, it is not a rookie. This was one that, is even more egregious than most because they sell actual Lewandowski rookies quite often. I don't know why this is continued to be pushed as a rookie, I guess. From what Matt Hendler said in the Vintage Discord, link down below. I always love plugging it because that's probably my main spot for soccer discussion at this point in time, other than Instagram with buddies and whatnot. He had pointed out that apparently PWCC/Now Fanatics has had a lot of the same listings from all the way back to 2020 in terms of title. So apparently once things are put in as whatever it is, they don't really change it all that much, which, I guess I can sort of understand how that happens, but at the same time, when someone's out here spending 100, sometimes multiple hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars on a soccer item, I'd like to believe that they could at least get the accurate information on whether or not it's a rookie. I don't think anyone was fooled here, but $112 for a second-year Robert Lewandowski is actually pretty decent. I don't know if compared to comps it's high, but when you compare it to his rookies, I mean, it's not a huge difference. Above that, a 1960 Mirage Sprint Pele. This one goes for $115. We have an Andrade from 1950, authentic altered, so this is the Ballas football set, which is a pretty cool one from the 1950 World Cup, and this is not the typical Andrade that you would think of. This is his nephew that won with Uruguay in 1950. So pretty cool one from that regard. He does have more issues than just this. I'm pretty sure I looked it up. I did, and in regard to his highest sales ever, this is up there as the 4th highest, the other ones being Tinghall sales from 1950 as well. Some of them having the rarer of the bunch with the blank back. But yeah, the other two, I think this is the same one back-to-back that went for $690 and $264, both in 2022. Then you have this one for $137 this year, kind of, not a great-looking one, but at the same time, they're never really going to be those Tinghalls. You can get some in high grade, but it's few and far between. So this Americana Ballas football going for $120-ish. Doesn't seem like a crazy high price, also not crazy low. Pretty cool for a World Cup winner, I would say. 2006 PSA 8 goes for $126 there for CR7. Above that, this is a tall boy Leviathan. I mean, originally I saw it was a tall boy, but this is a super tall boy because this is like one of the bigger slabs in terms of width and height as well. Then next to that, we'll see a few of these French pre-war issues throughout this auction. None of them are players I'm really all too familiar with, except for the top selling one, which was like a team photo. But these are names that you can find in the Vintage Discord mentioned here and there, but French pre-war is pretty hard to come by, so these things are just generally rare, at least to the perception of what we see at the moment. Of course, that could always change, but I wouldn't think it would change all that much. It's going to be hard to find 1930s French football stuff generally. Black label Messi tops now are always going to be much more prone to black labeling, so generally I wouldn't pay a huge premium for that, but if you like that type of stuff, feel free. I think $140 for a tops now Messi from his 20th year is quite a lot, even if it is pristine, but so be it. Above that, Pedri here, we have a Peacock, goes for $140 and a PSA 10. Next to that, we have a 67 A&BC, Bobby Moore and George Best, the Moore being a grade higher, but the Best being a more close to rookie year release. Around the same price, take your pick of the bunch. I did actually personally pick up a couple of the smaller ones. There were some, I think there was a full set of these along with some others that were going, so there was a ton of English stuff in this auction, which was kind of fun to pick up some odd and ends. I went with the Charlton and the Greaves, so I was happy with those, but these went pretty good as well. In this row, again, I mean, a lot of like niche pre-war doing pretty well and fun to see, but I can't offer all that much insight. This Ernst Lenner, I looked him up in the Discord. He was mentioned a few times. This Mazzali, only a couple times, so relatively niche players, but these are key sets, so I think that that's sort of what's going on here. The 1937 kicker, pretty huge set for pre-war Germany. Also here with the Dolar, that is a huge set for South America, in particular Argentina. And so some pretty big sets there going off as well. We have this 150 raw Messi that goes for, you would say a decent price, I would sense. Above that, this Lamine Yamal Gold Prize Footballers goes for $156. I found this interesting just to kind of compare because we do see other players that have prize footballers, and this to me seems relatively low, and I would say that that is probably just due to the proliferation of tons of different issues for Lamine Yamal, so there's so many cards that people are just going to be pulled so many different ways. We'll see where it plays out, but that seems kind of low compared to what we were seeing early on, but again, we're just sort of starting with a lot of this Lamine Yamal stuff getting sent to market, and even once he gets injured and maybe doesn't perform, there might be even more. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. This, we have a Torre out of 5 red refractor here, goes for $162. A PSA 178 Crack Maradona, the caricature, goes for $162. A little lower than some of the other sales, but it didn't look great for a one. Not that many of them do. Above that, prize footballers, Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm going to mention here as well. I thought this was relatively high. I mean, I know people love modern color, especially gold and all that good stuff. But, for me, I always try to think of who's buying this in 5 to 10 years. And I wonder in 5 to 10 years, who's going on eBay and searching up 2023 finest gold refractor Cristiano Ronaldo from a Real Madrid kit that he's not even in that season. I mean, he's in Saudi Arabia, and then it's just, there's so much going on. Like, not only do you have to want Topps Finest, but you have to want Topps Finest prize footballers, and then you want the gold, and you want a non-playing days Cristiano Ronaldo at Madrid. I struggle with this type of stuff. I know it's a 10, I know it's gold, so that type of stuff is always going to do some number, but to me, it's just sort of a nothing card generally. I know that might be sacrilege to some, but 1961 Garrincha PSA 3. This is the Sanchez release, and it's been labeled as 60-61, so I'm not really sure exactly where PSA's at on that. We did look up this George Best earlier. This was kind of a low sale. Last one was 252, but there had been lower before. There was 166 back here. There's also been a really high sale at 630, so seemed on the lower side, but nothing too crazy. O&B and a Sanchez, so there's a couple different ones, but they both use the same sort of format and picture as well. So, take your pick of the bunch. The red and yellow seems a bit more common from what I can see here, and in terms of pricing, last PSA 7 did $492, PSA 5 before that did $133, so I think that was a pretty good price for a 3 here, going for $170. Next to that, a PSA 4 Messi goes for $170 as well. We start with a white Messi rookie, that goes for $170 raw. We have an Endrick rookie out of 99 for $174, and then this Iniesta that goes for $174 as well. Those have been coming to market slow and steady. I say slow, there's about 1 or 2 a month in really high grade, which relative to what it was before, that's pretty fast. But as of late, this goes for $174, sale before that $252, $280, $180 back here. There were a couple $180 sales, and then before that, it's going to get really, really expensive all the way up to $2K back in 2022. Of course, 2022 was sort of the boom for pre-modern. 2022 into 2023 was sort of the boom for vintage, and this type of stuff did really well at the time, and I think has fallen really, really hard for a variety of reasons. One, I would say Iniesta, not the top tier, all-timer that you think of. Yes, he's one of the best. Yes, he's one of the best midfielders, but generally in the hobby, that almost isn't enough, which is sad, especially if you're not still playing. I think if you are still playing, it gets you somewhere, but once you sort of fade off at the end of your career, especially in an era where there weren't really all that scarce chases, this Iniesta is a bit more rare. It's not the most rare from the set. There is an update one as well that's more rare and more expensive and all that good stuff. But a lot of 10s of this have been graded as well and brought to market recently. And those, I think some are selling around a little under 1,000. Sometimes they go more. It's a bit weird, but yeah, $174 for that seems cheap. If you're looking for an entry, I don't think that's all that terrible. But at the same time, they haven't really shown any signs of recovery. So, you take some risk with that. Then in this row, we have a nice mix of vintage. We have a 1934 Frank Sue rookie, PSA 2 that goes for $180, especially on pre-war stuff. When it says rookie, I don't know. So, take BWCC's word. As we know, they're not the best with it. So I would take it lightly. 1964 Riva here. 180, that says rookie. I'm pretty sure on that one that it's not. And just through literally 5 seconds of research, here's a 63-64. Yeah, it's dual, whatever, but I mean, goodness. Takes me 5 seconds to figure that type of stuff out, and they just don't care. It blows my mind. Anyways, a rookie here, maybe, who knows, of a French pre-war player. Goes for 186 and a 4.5, which presumably is a pretty good grade. Above that, Figo PSA 6 for 186. This is sort of the calendar on the back item that we see sell here and there. Goes for a decent number. Steve Aoki Pedri out of 10, 200. We have a Pirlo here that goes for 200 as well. And just a warning on this type of stuff, man. Modern does scare me for this reason as well. You can see it in the watchers. There's 4 watchers on this Pedri. Sure, it sold for $200. It's a Topps Steve Aoki card, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Topps Steve Aoki card. Let that sink in. Let yourself think about it. If you're into Modern, one, you have to want to go for Topps rather than all the other miscellaneous Topps products that they have. And then you want to go for Topps Festival Steve Aoki. And then you want this parallel, which it is color match, so I guess it's got that going for it. But man, it is one of the most niche things I could ever think of. I'm glad I haven't seen any more Steve Aoki soccer cards because that was just abysmal. But still gets a decent price here. Also, I will mention for the Pirlo, sort of the same thing. I mean, $200 for a sticker auto, I get it. I'd like to have autos of a lot of great players too. I sort of work on that myself from time to time, but, you know, I'm not buying a Modern, and it's not all about what I'm doing, I guess. But just to say, if you like this type of stuff, you can get it almost whenever. So don't stretch, and I don't feel like people are stretching for $200 on a Pirlo auto, but I do think a lot of people buy this stuff with the idea that, like, autographs and this type of stuff's just going to go up because they're legends of the game and they're great players, and it's true. But in American sports, you can see great players from almost every era. Their autos don't just go to the moon because it's an autograph of a great player. There has to be more behind it than just that, and I'm not sure that this has that. And I mean, for example here, this at least looks like a pretty cool card. This doesn't look cool to me at all in any way. This at least looks kind of cool. 2020 Immaculate Thierry Henry PSA 9. That only goes for $200 comparatively. We have a 1995 Junior Stickers R9, goes for $210. Look that one up because it feels like we've been seeing a decent amount of them lately and just wanted to see how they were doing. So yeah, one sold for $384 in November, then $200, then $210. Meanwhile, a best offer went for $450. Presumably this got paid. I guess I could go on over to eBay and check. Yeah, from checking his eBay, doesn't look like it was relisted, so it seems like a legitimate sale, which is good. Lucky, I guess, maybe it's skill, I don't know, but for him to be able to get out on that, he did buy it here at $384, sold it for $450 on eBay, which after fees and all that's not doing all that much, but I would assume he probably didn't think that there was going to be a 200 comp between these sales, so, you know, seems like a good sale there, seems like a bad sale here, and just generally, man, Pre-Modern has had a lot of this type of stuff where this was in 2022, $2,500, then $1,700, then this year $1,000, actually this is 2022, this year it's then $500, then it's $300, then it's $200, and you just wonder, like, how low does it go? At some point, it does become attractive, especially if you're into these types of players and really, really want to collect them. For me, it's just tough because personally, I'm a bit young to really be nostalgic for these players. I didn't see these guys play during their peaks, so for me it's not all that enticing from a player perspective, and also from a collectability and sort of chase perspective. You can find this type of stuff fairly easily. I mean, it's Panini's 90s stuff, so I like it, but at the same time, when it just continues to trend downward time and time and time again, and I sort of see, you know, loads of them being offloaded by different people in Europe, it scares me personally. It does make it a little bit easier eventually to become a buyer of this type of stuff, even though it's not nostalgic or chase worthy or any of that for me personally. I know for a lot of people it is, but I think that is sort of why we haven't really seen much of a rebound on some of the more niche pre-modern stuff. I do think that some of the key rookies, the key foot releases, that type of stuff are doing okay, but some of the odds and ends around those aren't doing all that well as of late. To be fair, the odds and ends around them were some of the last ones to sort of go up in price and be chased by the people that were going after it, so I think that that is also a factor. PSA 6 Messi next to it, $228. Above that, Erling Haaland auto, $240. This PSA 6 goes for $252. Keep on keeping on. We got a couple here that I thought sold fairly well. Both of these, I mean, Pepe out of 5 from 2022. Not nearly a rookie, but one of the best USMNT strikers of this era. We have a 2017 Mo Salah out of 250 PSA 10, having a really good season there. Goes for $264. Above that, I thought that at first this was a red refractor Lamine Yamal, but no, it is rose gold, which again, just, man, modern in any way they can, trying to get on my nerves, but you know, that sort of took me for a loop at the beginning. We have a Mia Hamm auto here for $288, and then we have a PSA 9 Del Piero. Wanted to check what that was doing. Oh my gosh. Just because we did see a 9 go recently, and also a 10 had went, the first one ever, so I wanted to see how this was doing, and actually sort of stayed the course in terms of its pricing. Nearly $300 on this one, which is what it was before. Then the top of page 2, we have a Cruyff Eusebio here from 1969, a Puma promo that goes for $312. We have a 2018 Red Mosaic Messi, and another French pre-war release, and a PSA 6 for $372 there. Again, French pre-war, not my forte, but you know, I like seeing the names, like adding it to the repertoire. In this row, we have a PSA 8 1996 Thierry Henry Spanish that goes for $384. Took a peek at this because I would put this in the category of things we've seen a lot of lately. That's sort of like a secondary rookie in that same category. And this sale, $384. Last sale was $251 on eBay. Typically, eBay on this type of stuff not going to do as well as Fanatics/PWCC, but this sale was a good bit better than the last one. I do get a little worried, though, whenever I see wide discrepancies between Fanatics and eBay, because that kind of shows me that the people that are buying it are probably a little bit more just doing it. I mean, I guess it's a good thing, right? They're just doing it because they enjoy it, they saw it, they just happen to be there that night, but at the same time, it does show you that they're not hounding eBay looking for this. They're not hounding everywhere looking for this. So there is a margin there, which can be good if you're into that type of stuff. Now, to be fair, this same one had tried to sell a few weeks prior on eBay, but apparently got shilled/non-paid, which is interesting because that type of stuff generally happens a lot on things that are getting submitted and brought to market a lot, and these have been. There's been a lot of them in good to high grade coming out lately. And typically when that's happening, there are people surrounding it that want to protect the prices, and sometimes you happen to see that. I'm not sure if that was the case there, but it's just something that I am led to believe by sort of the context clues. Endrick 1 of 1 Panini Instant goes for $3.96. I'm not a prospector, I'm not a Panini Instant guy, but if you are, that seems a lot cooler than the PSA 10 Mega Cracks Lamine Yamals I saw people buying for $400. Not to say that this is a good buy, but comparatively seems like a good one. 78 Maradona Crack PSA 1 goes for $400. We have a Gallagher here from 1924 Thompson Adventure. That goes for $408, and a pop 1 of 1 3 higher. Row above that, some modern here. We got a couple Cristiano Ronaldos and a Lamine Yamal auto. The Lamine Yamal goes for $420, and the tie-dye Cristiano Ronaldo goes for $420 as well. We have the Leaf, or is that not? That's Leaf, right? Is it not? I don't know who this is. It doesn't have it in the title, but I think, yeah, okay. I know a Leaf card when I see it. Goes for $432. Above that, 1960. Then we have a 1967 Pele Robertão Figurinas. That goes for $432. Another Lamine Yamal auto. This is a 1958 Mazzola rookie. Again, not a rookie, but what are you going to do? Don't see these all too often, so I think that's why it gets a pretty high price. I do wonder if people were sort of baited into the rookie title, though, because his 57 O&B has gone for $500 to $600 in a PSA 1, so this one doing almost the same is interesting. This set, you can find the Grinches somewhat often. I say that, it's like maybe 1 or 2 a year go to auction, but you can at least find them. The Peles were sort of a reward or a prize sticker, so you can't find those at all. I'm not sure where the Mazzola lies. I would imagine they're relatively plentiful along the lines of the Garincha, but I am not sure. Zlatan and Ibra dual auto there goes for $468. 68 Cracks Day Robertão Pele and a 7 goes for $468. Nice looking one there, not one you see all too often. Goes for a decent price. This Kicker Auto Sifling PSA 5 goes for $480. And I looked at this, and this was, highest price all time for an auto Sifling, which is pretty cool to see. PSA 5. I looked at the back, looked decent. I mean, I can't almost ever say for certain sometimes if these things have been stuck or not, but it looked good compared to a lot of the other ones that I've seen, so I think I can see why I got a 5. When we look backwards, there's a 1930 Greeling here, a panel that went for $227. You also have the Koenig from 1938 as well. So again, seemingly a big set, getting a big premium there. Bunch of heavy hitters in this row. You have the Estampas Maradona and a 1 that goes for $516. A really nice eye appeal on this one. It went kind of near the price of a PSA 2 that we'll see here in a bit, and I think the colors are probably why. The back actually doesn't look that bad as well. I will say I don't like the Fanatics sticker that they put on here. I don't really like stickers that people put on cards in any scenario, but at least the PWCC ones looked nice. This looks cheap and tacky as all get out, so terrible job on that. Just want to throw that out there. Beyond that, though, I think that this is worthy of the sticker. I think it's a nice looking Estampas, don't get me wrong. But then we have a 2017 Gold Luka Modric PSA 10 field level that goes for $540. Really cool card there. The field levels, especially 2017, people like a lot as you get the horizontal imagery. Luka Modric as well. Sort of one of the players I think about when I think of Iniesta, in the sense of all-time great midfielder, probably has a lot more collectors because he's, still around the game, was very much still a part of Real Madrid and still is. And so he's in the limelight and being talked about by everyone. Meanwhile, Iniesta, Xavi, no one really cares. They're retired, yada, yada. Not old enough to really be nostalgic yet for many, but also too soon or not soon enough, I guess, to be remembered. And so they're in this weird middle ground. Then we have a Heinz Rummenigge Perfetti Forza goal here, PSA 6 that goes for $600. Really cool to see that. Again, sort of a cool set with a cool player getting a really good price. Probably a lot higher than you'd almost see for any other Rummenigge. But PSA 6 from the set is also really, really good. Typically, these are 2s or 3s for the most part. Then above that, we get the first of the Anglo-American releases. This is a Puck Van Heel. This is the more sort of natural portrait version. The other one was an in-action shot, and the in-action shot went for a good bit more. This one goes for $630. I think the in-action was closer to like $800-900 if I remember correctly. This BGS 9 Messy went pretty low at $660, like really low. But when you look at it, if you really dig in, which I did, the subgrades, it sort of makes sense because it's an 8.5 corner. I don't think the corners were that bad, but it's an 8.5, and the centering is really off. I guess I'll click on that real quick. I mean, on these, the centering, I will say PSA does it too. The centering is a 9.5. This badge theoretically should be, at least from what I understand, as close to the side as it is as close to the top, and that's nowhere near the case here. So I think that this is probably like a PSA 7 or 8. Given that's the case, this is a good sale. But I also do wonder, like a lot of people say that, they're like, oh, well, if you submit this BGS 9 to PSA, it's going to get an 8 or maybe even a 7. And that shows how bad BGS is. And I mean, I agree. I sort of understand that thought process, but I also think PSA is really, really strict nowadays. And I think it's, I mean, almost a disgrace to the people collecting in the sense that PSA probably back in the day would have given this a 9, if I'm being honest, because I've seen PSA slabs from back in the day. It looks like they didn't give a damn about the centering either. So back in the day, this would have been a PSA 9, maybe, in my head. But nowadays, it'd be a 7 or an 8. And so somehow that's an indictment on Beckett and not PSA. And to me, kind of grinds my gears, because as much as I hate BGS and they've done a lot of bad things and BGS sucks and this, that, and the other, you know, PSA is just giving people worse grades and basically lying to their face in a sense by changing grading standards and not telling anyone. And, you know, people almost applaud them for it. And it makes me go crazy, but I guess we'll save that for another day. I'll just move on to page 1. And on page 1, here we go. So we start with a 1978 Stomp Us. That's the 2 that I was talking about that sold. It did sell for a good bit higher. The PSA 1 was like $500. This is closer to $8. Technical grade, obviously an improvement, but when you look at it, I mean, the colors aren't as good from here. When you get into it, the back's, you know, decent, but what are you going to do? 2004 BGS 9. This one goes for a good multiple over the green. The badge does look a little more centered, but I found that to be sort of shocking. Typically, the greens go for more. We have a booklet Ronaldo, goes for $930. Above that, a 1-of-1 patch, along with a Zebra Lamine Yamal. This PSA 371 bis, I did take a peek at the graph just to see, because it felt low. And I mean, obviously, I have the all-time graph here, which is important because it's notable that prior to this boom, there weren't PSA 3s getting bought and sold for good numbers. I mean, you can just see it here. It didn't exist. So being $1,000 still is pretty good. Over the last 2 years, down 48%, but that's off some good sales. I mean, if you go from here, it's about even. And over the last year, up 9%. So, you know, maybe found its bottom. I will say generally the low-grade 71 bises have done pretty well in the sense that they didn't boom as high and haven't dropped as far as some of the other grades, so I could see those maybe taking a lot longer to start to gain momentum because you have all the grades above it sort of holding it back a bit. In this row, take your pick of the modern Real Madrid players. We have a 1-of-1 Vinny, a Black Label Select Unlimited Potential Mbappe, and a Kaboom PSA 8 Mbappe. Me personally, I'd take the Vinny in this row, but to each of their own. You know, Black Label doesn't do a whole lot for me, but I do understand its importance, and the Kaboom Mbappe is kind of a cool one, but you do always wonder with PSG if people are going to be all that reminiscent and fond of his days there. Also not a rookie, despite being labeled as a rookie. I mean, how is a third-year release a rookie from, I mean, literally third-year Panini release is a rookie. Just boggles my mind. That one is not as much a fault of Fanatics. I mean, that's sort of the soccer community's fault for allowing people to run with that. I mean, so many people wanted to profit off of Mbappe that they've almost tried to convince everyone that basically anything Mbappe's a rookie, yet it's most certainly not. 2004 Monday Chromo goes for $1,500 for this Messi. Pretty off-center, top to bottom. It was going to end near 1,000. I was thinking about maybe stepping in and upgrade my 8.5, but alas, I did not. It actually went for a good bit more. Ended up going for $1,500. Typically, these are between $1,250, $1,750 in terms of price, so this is about right in the middle. We have a 1-of-1 Jude for $1,600, along with a PSA 3 Aquarella Pele. Looked at that one up because it felt light. Actually, there have been some lower sales lately. I did look up this Mbappe if you want to take a peek at the sales. Seemed like a good price, $1,500 for this one. The other ones were $1,800 around there for a PSA 9. As for the Aquarella, this one over the last 2 years has done pretty bad, although generally vintage from 2023, especially some of the more notable cards that a lot of people have at least some sort of idea of their existence, those haven't done as well. This Aquarella, I would say, also has done probably worse as of late because it held on pretty well. Keep in mind, there are some huge sales here. I get it. But, you know, pre-boom, $695. I guess that's 2015, which is like almost pre-boom. But, you know, let's just say 2017, 2018, this is like 800 to 1,000 probably. Nowadays, it's 1,700-ish. I mean, I don't know. Let's see what a 2 or a 3 goes for. Let's look at some other grades. A 2 pre-boom. What was that going for? So a 2, 405 in 2018, 240 in 2019. So, I mean, a 3 might have actually been a lot worse. 3 might have been like 500 pre-boom, maybe. This might have been a high sale. So let's say 500 pre-boom. Currently 1,700-ish. I mean, 3.5x from pre-boom pricing, not all that bad. Over the last year, what are we looking at? Up 13%. But as you can see, a lot of highs and lows between. So yeah, pretty decent fall as of late. Came back a little bit actually on this sale, 300 over the last one. So that's something nice to see if you're, you know, interested in the Pele market and how that's moving. Keeping it moving, 2 pre-war in this row, and just sort of a weird dichotomy here. So we'll start with the 1924 Eddie Hamel. This is a PSA 1 from the Anglo-American set that we've been talking about. This one for $18.30, huge price for pre-war that you don't see all too often. Eddie Hamel was, I guess, he was an American-born player, but his parents were Dutch and had immigrated here and then went back to the Netherlands when he was like 1 year old or something. And he was the first Jewish player to play for Ajax. And a sad turn of events, though, as his career went on and Germany started gaining control of Eastern Europe. He was sent to a concentration camp and unfortunately didn't make it out. So quite the story behind this card, this player. For more than just that, obviously, you know, American-born, first Jewish player on Ajax, tons of different barrier-breaking types of things going on there, and a really cool release to be able to see come on out now, and a really strange dichotomy to have this type of an item next to what is a one-of-one diamond eminence. Neymar sort of shows the dichotomy between where we are in the last, 100 years, I mean, basically between these two cards. Kind of grateful that we can just look at Eminence cards and have a grand old time with those instead now, but that goes for $2,600, which, you know, doesn't seem like a crazy price within the realm of Eminence one-of-ones and all that stuff. I mean, you see sort of odd and end Neymars go for sometimes up to $500, and, you know, a one-of-one Eminence for $2,500-ish. In the world of this type of stuff doesn't strike me as all that blasphemous. Then next to that, we have a 1935 team issue of Zivkovic and Diagne. Diagne is the name I'm more familiar with. I looked up the other one. You know, a little bit of relevancy in terms of Yugoslavian player in the early 30s. Seemingly a pretty impressive price. It did have 23 watchers, which for pre-war is, you know, relatively high, I would say, and obviously had a few that really, really wanted this one. PSA 4 also seemingly a good grade. Not a whole lot else I can add beyond that as I'm not all too familiar, but again, really, really cool to see that type of stuff go, because this type of stuff, even if you may not be familiar with it, you might see it every once in a blue moon. I mean, it's going to be pretty rare, so to be able to just see it, at least for me, is cool, because typically this type of stuff, at least generally speaking, would change hands behind closed doors and you'd never really know what's going on. So to be able to have some sort of public viewing, at least for me, I'm somewhat grateful for it. Then in this row, we have a 1958 Vava Pele Edizione Vav PSA 4 that goes for $3,100. PSA 4 super high grade, pop 1 of 14, just 3 higher. And when we go look at pricing, the last 4 went for $3,500. This one goes for $3,100. The 4 before that did $4,000. If we keep going back, it's going to be higher and higher. Pre-boom, it actually did $1,500 in 2020 for this one right here. So from pre-boom to now, up about double. These typically aren't all that centered. This one is pretty good, but I will say the borders look really short top to bottom. I don't know if other people are seeing that as well or think something's a little strange with that, but to me, you know, typically one of these borders on the top and bottom would seem almost small, so to have them on both sides is a little odd. Beyond that, PSA 8, 1979 Maradona Calciatore goes for $3,300 here. That's a top 15% eye appeal as well. And when we go look at the sales, actually not, I mean, it's a decent sale, but it's not all that crazy. These have seemingly sort of come up a little bit from their 2023 pricing of $2,500 and $2,700. This one goes for $3,200. Again, does have the eye appeal sticker. Notably, this is one that pre-boom has boomed a ton from that pricing until now. Pre-boom, you know, 130 back in 2015, 220 in 2018, and now 3,200. So for me, personally, I'm just, you know, speaking personally, I don't own this. It's always been one that I'm really sort of struck by in regards to its ability to stay at this pricing despite being one of the more plentiful vintage stickers. So, you know, to me, it's pretty impressive. And, you know, as much as I would like it to go down in price for my own desires of owning one and whatever grade I desire, I do like seeing that this has relative strength, at least compared to some of the other things that I would have expected and some of the pricing around that. So yeah, over the last year, I guess actually not up at all. It's the same price as January 14th sale. There was also a March one here and a Fanatics top percentage here. I will say this was also a top percentage one, so while it doesn't have the yellow dot, I think that's worthy of note. It might have been a lower sale had it not had that. Then we have 2023 Arda Guler rookie here. It's Select Black, goes for nearly 4,000 there in a PSA 9. Above that, a BGS 8 of the 71 bits goes for 4,300. A little low of a price compared to some of the other ones we've seen. A 7.5 did nearly the same price recently. I didn't mean to click on that, but yeah, here we are. I'm guessing 7.5 centering probably doesn't help it at all, but at least beyond that, seemingly a pretty clean card. This 2022 Cristiano Ronaldo out of 5 auto goes for nearly, well, I guess about 4,500. To me, at least at first, seemed kind of strong, and I still stand by it, I guess. In regard to the card itself, it's a PSA 8 with a 10 auto. I think that auto grade's carrying it a little bit here. Now, granted, Cristiano Ronaldo does go off sticker sometimes, a decent amount, so maybe having it all on sticker is the appeal. I just, maybe it's me, but I do have a huge pet peeve against cards that are released in, like a Real Madrid or Barcelona kit that are not actually from that year, right? I mean, this picture, I don't know when it's from, but it's not 2022. 2022 Cristiano Ronaldo's in the Saudi, so I mean, to me, it may as well be a post-playing career card. I know it's not, but in my eyes, that's basically what it is. They can make Cristiano Ronaldo celebratory autos, cards, refractors, numbers for eternity. So this type of stuff for me, unless it was from that year and made during that time, I don't have as much affinity for it. I know it's still colored. I know it's still an auto. I know it's a Topps Chrome red out of 5. So, it's going to have a wide appeal, but I struggle with it personally. Beyond that, 1958 Aquarella Blue Pele. This goes for 5,000 with the Pele auto as well. Sort of faint as it's in pen, but at least it's a good auto, I will say. You'd probably rather have a thicker pen and maybe down here near the bottom, but for Pele, he doesn't have a lot of good-looking career autos. This also, I guess I didn't even notice that, but the edges, it looks like cut maybe, or like, I don't know at all what's going on here. So I guess maybe if you're the buyer, that you could just cut it again, make it look nice at least. That looks rough, but yeah, back looks okay, generally speaking, and I think the auto looks really good too for a player that has a lot of pretty bad-looking autos from later in life, so I think that 5,000 for that, if you're into that type of stuff, seems cool to me. And then the top row here, so we have quite the trifecta. We have a Messi, a Ronaldo, and a Miazza. We start with the 2018 Lionel Messi Eminence Jumbo Gold out of 5 patch auto. Really cool patch, really cool auto in a way, I guess, but as always, the co-hanger auto to me, not a fan favorite, but the card itself, the patch, the style, everything it's supposed to be, obviously supposed to be a really, really cool card. In my opinion, tarnished a bit by the auto, not similar to many of the other Messi autos, which to me is a huge sort of detriment, but at the same time, for what it is, 5,100 doesn't seem all that crazy. Then next to it, we have what in most weeks would be the winner at 13.2 thousand. This 2016 Select Field Level Gold Cristiano Ronaldo out of 10. It goes for a good number and a mighty fine looking card. This is the first year of Panini Select Field Levels. This isn't the typical sort of horizontal design. It's the vertical. And of course, it's got the sort of gold power going on there. Really, really cool design. 5 out of 10. And in regard to pricing, we actually did have a few comps here that we can look at, which was surprising to me in regard to the last few years. There have been a few to sell. So the first one was this jersey number PSA 9 that sold for 13,000. So basically the same exact price as this one. Would you rather have a PSA 10 or a PSA 9 jersey number? Me personally, I'd probably go the 9 jersey number because at the end of the day, the jersey number is undebatable, and the grades can be very subjective, so I'd rather go for a jersey number, especially if it's only a 1 grade difference. Beyond that, you have a PSA 9 here that went for nearly 10,000, so I think comparatively, I'd definitely rather pay 13 for a 10 than 10 for a 9, and then we have a PSA 8 for 3,900, so the more common man, but still the, very wealthy man that's looking to spend on cards could have spent 4K on that, and that's probably the deal compared to the 9, but I also think that this 10 and this jersey number don't seem all that crazy, at least when you put all of this together. So all that to say, it seemed like a fair price and a really cool card to see go in this weekly. We don't get as many of these types of cards. These go on alt a lot. There's a lot of modern sort of soccer grails that go on alt. I say grails, it's all debatable and to each their own. But finally, we end with one that might not be all that debatable, and that's a 1927 Laurenti Miazza in a PSA 3 MK that goes for 36,000. We'll look at the card first and look at the pricing. So this is the Miazza that at one point in time, a couple years ago, had a huge run. A lot of them came out, and since then, not a lot have really surfaced at all, really. And this one, at least to many in the vintage Discord, they say is the best copy they've ever seen. There's, maybe 5 to 10 other ones that you can go ahead and sort through on the Card Ladder sales history if you wish. I will say this looks really, really good. Now, it does have an MK designation, which a lot of people are sort of wondering where does that come from. And when you look at the sides here, I don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. Maybe someone colored that in with black, because over here there's a little bit of... But they probably would have colored that in too, so... I have no clue. I guess when you look there, not a whole lot to see. I would imagine it'd probably be like some sort of black Sharpie somewhere, but who knows? When you go and look at the back, not a whole lot going on there. So, it's to each their own in regards to guessing. But 3,600 on that, really, really good. Again, that's just all speculation on my part on what the MK could be. I have no clue. Maybe it's not a mark, and maybe it's a PSA mess up. They're known to do that from time to time. But when we go and look at sales, this one was the second highest price all time. The highest was an SGC2 that went sort of during the mania for this card, and that had gone back in the day for $66,000. Other than that, though, 31K, 19, 19, 19, 18, 18, 18, and 13 back here for a 1. I mean, it's definitely a beat-up 1, but 13 was the lowest, and we're looking at 36K now for a PSA 3 MK. Typically, people say, you take off 2 grades for a qualifier, so this would be a 1, but again, it would be the best-looking one anyone's basically ever seen, so really, really hard with vintage, considering, yes, you have technical grades, but you also in vintage very much have to consider the eye appeal grade and designation that people are giving to that, and I think that that's what happened here. So really cool to see that go. Really cool to see Pre-War top this, and the Miazza would be one that you would think would do that, and he did just that at 3 times what the Cristiano Ronaldo is doing. So quite the banger of an auction this week. We'll see if next week with Christmas it's going to be a little lighter. You would assume, yes, but I guess we start with an Alifa PSA 1. We have a yellow name Eusebio on a 5.5, super high grade on that one. Pop 1 of 1, just 2 higher. We have a Messi 1 of 1 black foil. Really? I'm confused why that's a 1 of 1. I didn't know blacks are 1 of 1s and tops. Maybe I'm getting something off there. Yeah, all right. I guess it's a 1 of 1 up there. I guess it is tops and not tops chrome, so that's probably where that's coming from. Excuse my ignorance. As we'll keep going, though, we have a variation Messi. We also have a 76 Graf Socrates. A couple 1 of 1s here in this row with a Kylian Mbappe and an Odegaard, a PSA 9 Thierry Henry. Pop 1 of 8, just 1 higher. This Leao goes again. We've seen this Leao. I thought I clicked on it, but I guess not good, because we've seen this sell so many times. I don't know if it's ever actually sold, but it goes again. Tie-dye Cristiano Ronaldo, pretty cool Lampard, along with the Imperial Calcio Pele. And, some cool stuff in between as well. Seems like a lot lighter of a week, but after the heavy hitter we had last week, who is to complain? But that's going to be it for me this week. Again, if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Always appreciate it. Anything you want to let me know down below in the comment, feel free to. Things you might have bought, sold, thought, sold high or low, any of that type of stuff. Would love to hear it. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.